So, hello and welcome. Today for day four for our breathing practice, we're going to concentrate on the belly breath, and we're going to move with the breath. So part of the reason why we focus on the belly is when the belly expands, then the likelihood is we're using the diaphragm muscle to breathe, diaphragmatic breathing, which is the most supportive for our heart and our breathing and our overall well-being, and kind of like the whole movement process that's going on in the center of the body that's working with the organs, and just kind of like, it's the way we're meant to breathe. So we'll start. So I'm sitting. Yeah, I'm sitting, might look a little bit strange from that angle. I'm sitting on a bolster. You could sit on a rolled up towel. You can sit with your legs crossed. You can sit on a chair. You can stand, yeah. Or you could actually lie down for the first part of this. But when we move, you will need to be either sitting or standing. So finding your happy place. So for me, I need to have enough support here so that I'm not sagging in my lower back, so that my spine feels like, okay, can grow up and out the pelvis. So my sitting bones are heading straight down into the bolster here. Okay, so I know you can't see that clearly. I've got lots of layers on, but I think you'll get the gist. So I'm going to take one hand to my belly. So wherever you can kind of get a sense of support there. So it might be around the navel, slightly above, slightly below the navel. And as we've been doing all week, we're not trying to do anything clever. We're trying to just follow the breath. And part of the following the breath in the body, so we know what's actually going on through the movement on the diaphragm moving and the belly changing from expanding to contracting, is where kind of get that diaphragmatic breath, as I've mentioned. But we're also, by following the breath, we might be aware that it's changing all the time. So it's unlikely to clearly be, always the same count if we were to count the length of each breath. It's likely to be a little bit of a change every so often. You might take an extra in-breath. You might take a bit more of a pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. All sorts of things are going on. And relating to that is recognizing that all things change. So it's kind of, in meditation sense, it's a recognition that change is inevitable. And that particularly if we feel like we're in a stuck place, it's going to move. Yeah, it's going to move at some point. And although it might feel very solid, our difficulties, they do move on. As all our thoughts move on. We don't get stuck with one thought or feeling. They may loop round, they may go in loops. But broadly speaking, there's change all the time. So that also means that if we're struggling with pain, that isn't as solid as it might seem. It changes all the time, moves around a little bit. It becomes more intense, less intense. And we can breathe into our difficulties. We can breathe out our tension and our troubles. We can breathe in a nurturing quality. So breath work is breath work, but it also has lots of layers that kind of can support our well-being in less obvious ways, perhaps. So I feel like I need to give sufficient pressure to the belly to know what's going on. which will change things a little bit, but not so much pressure that I'm restricting the breath. And I'm interested if the breath is kind of smooth and flowing, kind of like a wave, or whether it's a little bit clunky and sticky and tight. So I mentioned before, doing your best to actually keep the mouth gently closed so the breath is through the nose is a good option. Okay, so I haven't given a time for today. So sometimes it's really useful to kind of like say, okay, I'm going to do this for a certain length of time, certain amount of rounds, counting. It's a way of focusing the mind. But other times it's kind of like, how long does it take for me to settle? Stick with it until I settle. And if it starts to kind of be less interesting or just more difficult to focus on, then time to move on. So releasing the hand now. So what we're going to do, we're going to just take the arms out to the side on an in-breath and bring them back down on an out-breath. Now what we tend to do is we tend to move the arms and let the breath accompany what we do. That's what we tend to do naturally. We think, okay, I'm taking my arms up. I think I'm going to breathe in, or take my arms down. I think I'm going to breathe out. What we are trying to do over the next few rounds is, instead of moving the arms and then let the breath follow, we're trying to notice the breath and then doing the movement. So it's almost like the breath has a second and then the arms move. There might be a pause at the top even, and then there's an out breath and then the arms go down. So what I want you to do, because the danger is also you'll look at me and you'll think, oh, he's breathing properly. I'd better go to the same time as he's moving his arms up and down. When you won't be the same as me and might change as well. So if you're comfortable, close the eyes. If not, lower the gaze. And just get back to the breath again. So you might not take your arms very high. Yes, it might be a really small movement. So once you've kind of, okay, I think I know when I'm breathing in and I know when I'm breathing out, it tends to be swell of the belly on the in-breath, remember? And a contraction of the belly slightly on the out-breath. Once you've got that, then prepare yourself for when the next in-breath comes, just to take the arms outside to the side. And you lower them again on the out-breath. So it might take you some time. And if it just becomes all kind of, oh, I can't get this, then just take the arms up and let the breath be part of the movement. But if you can let the breath just start and then the movement accompany a second or so afterwards. So you're just following the breath and moving the arms. So you can move out to the side. If that's not comfortable, you can bring them up forward. So pause the arm movements and just let the hands settle somewhere on the legs or somewhere comfortable, the side of the body. And come back to the breath without the arms. So what happens after a while? So it almost feels like a power building up in the belly. Yeah, you can kind of really sense what's going on in the center. And the movement of the arms, for some of us, it literally lifts the diaphragm. So there's a little bit more of an upward movement on the in-breath and a settling back down on the out-breath. So there's a change going on in the body which supports the breath. The breath might deepen or not. If it doesn't kind of work, just keep with the hands on the belly or the hands resting down. So a diaphragmatic breath tends to make us feel really connected to this part of the body, the center of the body, often. And it might make you feel stronger because when the belly goes in, there's that engagement, a little bit of core work. So obviously when we're doing stronger things, we're picking something up, we're moving around, the breath will change. We might need more support from the center. So it's nice to know that we can find an energy or a strength in the belly, a support for us. Okay, we're going to leave it today for day 4. I'll be back for day 5. But concentrate a little bit more on the nose breath as a focus, as a way of energizing and bringing a greater clarity. So see you tomorrow. Enjoy.